Right, so it's time to change that water pump that I've been delaying and just using a trick of spinning and spindle. What's happened in the old water pump that's installed in the house, I think something has snapped off between the shaft and the propeller, so the shaft is spinning but the propeller is not. So make sure it's on number 2 because that's what it's set on in the original pump. Now what I've got to do, I've stuck a penny in there, or it's like a, I don't know, like a French coin. I'm trying to undo this top, and the reason is because it's been in storage. I just need to make sure the propeller is nice and free, so I'm just gonna undo it. I can't do it with this holding the camera. So now inside there it is. So close up, just checking there's no fluid in there. Might be an oil, I don't know. Is it kind of wet in there? Oh, it's an oil. So this pump's never been used before, and someone's kindly, well, when they manufacture it, they kindly put oil in there. That is oil. That's excellent. I don't doubt that will spin, but definitely if you buy it second hand, then it's been in storage, you definitely want to spin this rotor. Look, direction is anti-clockwise, so that should, on the number 3 screwdriver, I've changed it to number 3. By the way, the coin, I couldn't turn it with the coin. That's absolutely free to rotate. That's absolutely cool. Good. Now you're not meant to make sure the rubber O-ring is there. Yep, that's good. You're not meant to do this up very tight. That's why they kind of put a coin shaped thing on it. You know, a pump's been used when there's a little dent. You have to use a screwdriver. So you saw it was absolutely clean. So all you need to do is just do it finger tight with a coin or something. That'll be it. Right, okay. Now I'm going to go and turn off the water mains. You don't have to if you've got a good system where you can cut it off top and bottom. But I don't really trust it 100%. And also I've got another job I've got to do, so I'm going to turn off the water mains. Find the water mains in your house, or I'll show you in a second where my cut off top and bottom is for this. But I will turn off the water mains as well. Don't forget the electrics by the wall where you're working. Turn that off, take the fuses out, etc. It's usually got an arrow, a flow. There's the arrow. It tells you the way the water's going to go. It's going to go up, and I'm going to install this kind of upside down. So it's going to go that way. It's going to be like this, I think. Before I do that, as I open that up again with my coin, you can actually see the veins here. See there? Let me get the torch on it. I made sure that the veins in there turned when I rotated that shaft, and it was very easy to turn. I forgot to mention it came in a box like this, so it's been in storage for maybe like years and years, but it was sealed. It came with rubber washers for the end parts here. They were a bit rusty. I'm going to clean this down with maybe a toothbrush or a wire copper brush maybe. So yep, instruction manual, and it also mentions that this thing here, apart from the way I use it for spinning the shaft, when it's stuck, it's a bleed screw as well, so if there's air in there it will come out of that hole there. Right, in this house there it is, bit of digging. I'm going to turn it off. That's the stopcock, the main stopcock. Right, switch off. Now bear this in mind, if you was to get a whole load of water coming out, gushing onto that box there, there's the pump I'm changing, right, you can still electrocute yourself, right, because the water bypassed the switches in there, so we need to get that fuse out as well. So if water drips, or even when you've switched it off onto a switch like that, it can still conduct electricity, and then what normally happens, you see it sort of flashing on and off like you think it's actually on, but then you go and flip it and it is actually off, but then you turned it and it's fully on, then you electrocute yourself. And I've done that before when I was a kid, so you can't blame me. I was about 13 when that happened. We had a pipe that burst outside an outside toilet. I thought the light was on, but it was like shimmering, flashing. So I went to flip the switch, and then it was on after that, and then I electrocuted myself. But anyway, that's that. So let me take the fuse out as well. That's more like it. That's a 13 amp. What is that? 5 amp. Not very much. Keep that safe. Right, so that feeds electricity to that, so if that was to get wet, you're okay, because that's been isolated fuse out. So when you mess with water and electrics, obviously you've got to be very extra careful. That fits on there nicely like that. That turns nicely. So just kind of count how many turns that was. It was about 5 or 6, wasn't it? So that was 6 half turns, so 3 full turns. Let's see if these hold out. Turned off the mains. Shuts off quite good, so it's in good condition, I think. Fingers crossed. Now, I was absolutely debating whether or not to take this half off, because you can sometimes buy them second hand that way, or undo it there and there and take the whole lot off that way. Depends where you think it's most likely to leak from. In the middle, where the crack is, or from there and there. I think you're more likely to get a leak from this crack area here, where the two halves join. So I'm going to try, with everything still on, use one of these size spanners to clasp round and try and undo it. And I'm just going to leave it as I broke the seal on it. Right, so in the end I just broke the seal on it using a channel lock. Let's see if I can do it one-handed. Channel locks can open it a lot wider. Got that much more leverage. There we go. It wasn't on very tight at all. So broke the seal on it. I'm confident about that now. So electric's off. And the water's off. Expecting a lot of water to come, at least from the pump. The pump has got its own pocket of water, so we're expecting that. I put PTFE already on there, on threads on the new pump. There's that. That's come off. There's a rubber sitting on the rubber valve. So the actual, I'll give you a close shot in a minute. Expect a big gush of water actually. As soon as I break this seal, so that's quite nice. So rubber. Let's get a close shot of that. See it? Rubber seal, just here. And it's flat, isn't it? Yeah. We double check on the pump up here. So looks like the new pump. Yep, it's just a flat flange. If I pushed it, if we give it a shove, it'll just burst open with liquid. That's nice. You don't have to lift it or anything like that, or lift the pipe away or anything like that. It just inserts flush. Okay, we've got the new rubber seals. So this bit is quite we'll have plenty of towels, I would say. We don't know if the top one's going to start leaking water up. We don't know if the bottom one has been sealed properly, shut down properly. Right. If it leaks, if there's water gushing down on that top valve particularly, but there's a big head tap on top, I will just shove it back in place. We'll find it. Top one is okay, bottom one's alright. Should have done this earlier. Should have done it earlier. Take the cable out. So we're alright. We need to get a hammer to take the cable out. We just rest that for a second. Let's see. I'm going to bend it out of shape on you. Just screw that back on top. A second. Better if it hangs, I think. Let's get those nails out. And prise those little nails out. Okay, it wasn't too bad. Hopefully your shut-off valve above the pump is as new as mine or as good as mine. That worked quite well. I think this might just prise it off like so. Yep. I'll put them all back on. Probably later on. That's what we want. Easy as that. That one as well. One doesn't want to come up. Leave that one in there. Right. Bring it over. Okay. Make sure we remove the old rubber seal. That's important. It is rubber, it's not silicone. So we make sure we throw them away. You don't confuse the new with the old ones. Right, so the easiest way to do that is to leave all that cabling in and just uncouple the cabling here. I noticed when I opened up the new pump that there is a silicone seal around this fuse box. It's a bit pricey. That screw. It is on number 2, yep. So just prise it open. There we go. There's that lid. There's a silicone seal inside. It's quite a good gasket actually, it's not even a seal. It's a good fitting gasket. So let's test this thing for electricity. We don't want to shock us. Set up for AC. We'll try DC as well. So we got nothing going on. Try DC. well. Brown cable is on the live, blue cable is on the neutral. Pull these out. Check the AC in. Nothing. Alright. Make sure everything's lined up. So it was upside down. As we look at it like so, the live is on the bottom, the neutral is in the middle, and earth is on the top. Let's do the equivalent, crack open this one. Chose exactly the same model just for the sake of continuity, and it looks exactly the same. That's what you want to do. You don't want to be double thinking yourself at this stage. Right, so let's uncouple the cabling. Making sure I keep this one dry on the floor, out of the way. Keep the lid as well. I wonder if it flips, pushes. Get my little pliers. I reckon it's going to flip. Right, let me have a look at. It's clearly a push down on here, and this should just pop out. There we go, like that. Making sure there's no damage to the copper. Make sure there's good contacts. Pull down and then pull. Pull down and then pull. Pull right down. That's the key, pulling right down on those levers. I'm doing this one. Hopefully the cable will go right through. Like that. It's got a nice grommet as well. Here it is. Just check them. Give them a little twist. If they're really manky, you could put a bit of solder on there and give it like a little solid end. Alright, that's that. I am curious to find out if I spin this spindle now, will the main see if I can find it. Not there. Will that turn? Let me just check. Hopefully you can see that. Just going to set it by hand. It does rotate. I thought you can see that it does rotate. I thought that's where the brake was. A brake between that turning and that rotating. So it's not that. Not what I thought it would be. Unscrew that first, I guess. Could put a bit of tape around there just to get them through the hole. That would be a good idea. Get it through the grommet. All these things are common sense stuff. Oh, even more common sense if I do that. It sits in there like that. And even more common sense in that case, if that comes out, to just insert them when the cable is long rather than all tucked up in your hand. Very short. So stopper. Not sure about that. Like a backwards pointing blade. When you do that, it pulls a hole open. So you've got to get it in the hole. Definitely, if you're doing this, you're going to put some solder on it. It's absolutely fine. It's just a little bit tricky, that. As you pull it down, that hole opens up. Put it in the hole. Make sure you got good contact. Like I said, a bit of solder might help, just to give the end a bit of toughness, so you can insert it properly. I didn't do that. I think it's okay. Now we need to. I had to put a bit of insulating tape there because it had, believe it or not, been cut, so we wouldn't want that. So it's okay, looks good. It's a sealed unit. Should tighten it up now. Oh, okay. The only thing this does is stops it from pulling away, I guess. Once it's in housing, it's in housing. Put the lid back on. That little selector there was on 2, remember? And that stayed on 2. That'll sit right on top of that little shaft. Push it in. So it's sitting there nicely. Oh, look up there, it's dripping water. Just a tiny bit now. So that's the electrical side of it done. Just need the two washers, O-rings. Oh, I need a bit of space for myself. Let's see if I can do this. So it's quite straightforward. More straightforward than you might imagine. So let's do the top one first, because that'll hold it. Just right in the middle. Any kind of resistance on screwing means it probably the rubber O-ring is on incorrectly, and it's sort of sitting against the threads. So I'm just going to do that with the bottom one on. Lapsed a tiny bit. Didn't think that might cause a leak. cross threaded it. Well, you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to tighten it with my channel locks. Do it by hand as much as possible. Tighten the channel locks. Check for leaks. Open up the valves, of course. Check for leaks. Always a good idea to leave it for a few minutes. Running, of course. I'm not running it at the moment, but leave it running. Come back and check little areas like this for any kind of drops of water. Because you never know. Alright.